It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is actor Iron E. Singleton that played in The Blind Side as T-Dog in The Walking Dead. Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Mike. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
So what's this new event you got going?
Yeah, Blindsided by The Walking Dead. I used my two biggest projects, which are The Blind Side, starring Sandra Bullock, which she won the Oscar for, and The Walking Dead. I combined those two projects to come up with my one-man stage play. It tells my life story of growing up destitute in a housing project in the city of Atlanta, having overcome many troubling things in my childhood, from running the streets and selling drugs and carrying a pistol and fighting here and there, and then dealing with verbal and physical abuse at the hands of my mother, whom I lost at the age of 18 from HIV complications. I had limited interaction with my father. I met him twice in my life. And my brother, who's almost 2 years older than I am, he went into the judicial system at the age of 14 for the first time, and has basically been in and out for the last 20 plus years or so. But I think he's been out maybe for the last year or two, which is a really good thing, and I'm proud of him for that. But you know, his background was as troubling as mine. But I got some good breaks and ended up at the University of Georgia, where I played Division I football. Go Dogs! We're 7-0, baby. Kirby's running things. My former teammate, and I studied theater. I was a theater major, also a speech communications major. I graduated from Georgia and ended up doing low budget to no budget productions and community theater until I finally landed The Blind Side, and within a year of that I landed many other things, amongst those The Walking Dead. So I tell that story on stage in about an hour, 45 minutes, and when it's all said and done, Mike, I'm drenched. I am drenched. I'm spent because it's very physically and emotionally exhausting.
Wow. And how long is you going to keep this campaign going? Is this for a couple months? Is this in the States as well? Or are you going like straight online or anything like that?
Oh, this is just for 1 month. It starts to Thursday. That is the 17th, and it runs through November 17th. So we have 30 days to raise the funds, and the individuals that I meet, they come out to the conventions. I don't know if you've ever been to a Walker Stalker convention.
Not one of those, no.
Not one of those? Oh, the people are just, they're great. They're so tremendously kind, and everybody's in a great mood. You should try to catch one weekend or so. But they are constantly asking me about the show, and they say they want to see the show. We are not, although we've done the show in the past in Atlanta, Orlando, New York, we just have not been in the position to do it the way the show should be done. But now, which is the reason why we're reaching out to those individuals that care about humanity, that want to restore compassion in our world and truth and love in our world, to contribute to it so that they can help me help us make the world a better place. And that's why we're doing the Kickstarter campaign.
And do they see you as a person and not just say, hey, that's the guy from The Walking Dead?
Yeah, either that or The Blind Side. Now, very rarely do I hear, but I have heard it. That's the guy from the lottery ticket, because it was really just one scene in the lottery ticket, and then the other things I've done, because those are the two biggest ones. So generally it's The Walking Dead first, and then The Blind Side second, and everything else follows that.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to some events like that, there are actors that are trying to put out a project like that, but the imagery, they always keep seeing, this is the guy from so-and-so every time, and actually, see what this guy's all about when he's, sharing his story.
Yeah, and if they view it that way, I guess that's a good thing, because T-Dog is such a beloved character, and I guess it's evident in how people show up at these conventions. But at the same time, I want people to understand that this is not just for me, it's not just for people in my immediate surroundings, but it's for the world at large, because this is a project that espouses truth and love. That is the leitmotif of the project. And again, it goes back to me, like I said, that people that want a better world. Gandhi said it best, said that we have to create the world we want to live in. And the people that are interested in that, and I meet many people that are, but a lot of times people just don't know where to go. People don't know what to do. Like, I've contributed to many campaigns, and sometimes I feel a certain way about, say, giving money to a certain cause, because I really don't know where that money's going. It's like, okay, who's going to get the money? And then you find out that the people that are supposed to get the money, they get 10% of it, and then the people that are having the campaign, they keep the rest or pocket or something like that. And I don't appreciate, that's something that I don't appreciate. With this campaign right here, every single penny would go towards this production, and they would know my manager is going to keep track of every single penny to let people know exactly what's being spent on what. People go to sleep at night and they realize that with all of this devastation going on, from the fires in California to Las Vegas, the Las Vegas massacre, and all the hurricanes and the earthquake in Mexico, and my heart goes out to all of them, and my prayers go up for them. But we're constantly thinking about that, and you're asking yourselves, like, okay, what can I do? I want to do something, or I want to do more. And that's been my thing. I'm always constantly like, I want to do more. And then at the end of the day, I always come back. Along with my wife, we always come back to the show. This show is everything. It means everything. This sums it up. That this life experience is not just my story, but it's everybody's story. It's about human struggle and overcoming and triumphing in the face of so much adversity. So people will see this show and they'll be like, that's my story. Not those particular events. I can relate to that struggle, to that pain, and the payoff is tremendous. It's wonderful at the end, because we can all say, I've contributed to something great in this life, and I can sleep better knowing that I'm doing my part.
Similar what you're doing right now, rather than protesting over other issues. I mean, this seems more of a better, subtle way, rather just listen rather than having to throw rocks, all this other stuff that's going on. I mean, it doesn't solve too much when someone's doing such things. I mean, you want to get a point across, but there's better ways. I mean, this is a better way what you're doing.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, and I would have to say, whenever, if violence is never the answer. We can't solve anything by violence. We can't solve anything by, even if there's no violence. If we're just talking through one another, like arguing, we can't solve many problems with that. I feel that this is the part of the remedy to the bigger issue of whether we're dealing with, sexism or racism or xenophobia or ageism or just plain old human struggle. Just trying to figure out how we're going to pay the bills, keep the lights on, and how we're going to get through it. This show answers a lot of those questions. It touches on a lot of those issues, if not all the issues, really, Mike, if not all those issues. So I felt like this was the best way for me. Everybody has their own, way of going about handling things. I just want to present an alternative. And I think that this is a pretty decent alternative. I try to listen and obey. I do my best to listen to that higher power and to do what that power tells me to do. A lot of people refer to that entity as God. And I just want to do my part in it. Other people, they go about it in their own way. Who am I to judge how they do things? As long as they're not hurting anybody, like you said, throwing rocks or fighting or doing anything like that, I'm like, I can't judge them, because I don't know the message they've gotten from God.
And based on your life experiences, do you use acting as a tool to actually overcome or challenge obstacles in your own life?
Oh yes. Well, I think that it's similar to the notion that art is a reflection of reality, as reality is a reflection of art. I think that studying acting has made me a better person. I've grown a lot. I'm now able to better control my emotions because of acting, I would say. I've gone through so much of my life, and when in my formative years back in the projects, I just didn't and could not control my emotions the same way, and it ended up with me becoming violent or something like that. But through my acting classes, I have become a better person, and I use it probably every day of my life, and it has contributed to my growth greatly.
Yeah, and in some aspects, it can be pretty difficult for some actors. Like, they've had a very traumatic experience, and then they act throughout a role that has almost a similar part to it, but they just simply can't channel that through that, and it can be pretty difficult, and it can almost kind of throw an actor off balance because of it. And some actors can pull it off, and then there's actors that just simply can't go that direct route to get that role in some cases.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's like this notion that actors are kind of crazy, but for lack of a better term. But I think that that's how I was referred to when I was a kid. I would hear my my grandmother, my aunt, and different people say I was crazy because I would be upstairs in my room as a young lad, and I would be in my room screaming, yelling, and doing different things. But it was because I was so tired of living the life that I was living a life of poverty, and living a life of so much violence, and seeing so much violence and hate around me, and it was just me dealing with that in my own way. It was a blessing that I was able to, throughout my acting journey, taking my acting class, I've been able to kind of control it enough to where I can live a normal life, put it like that. But yeah, I know when to turn it off, when to turn it on. I have pretty good control over that.
In the entertainment industry, where do you think the biggest test is for you in this?
The biggest test in the industry. A lot of people think it's me embracing my faith in this industry, but I just have to kind of touch on that because that would be the first thought for a lot of people. I've gotten that a lot, and they say, "Well, do you have a lot of trouble sometimes just because you are a faith-driven person trying to navigate the waters of Hollywood and the acting lifestyle?" And I'm like, no. People understand what you're about, then people respect it. But if you're on the fence about it, if people see that there's you trying to live two lifestyles, or then people don't respect that. And I think that a lot of people get lost when they get to quote unquote Hollywood. They don't know who they are. They don't completely understand. They're still trying to find themselves because they're really young or whatever, and they get lost. And so they allow other people to tell them who they are. And which is that's not the case. That's not really who they are. And I think with me, when I got my break, I knew full well who I was, and I know who I am now, and there's nothing that could change that.
Some things in the industry has become so much a lot easier and compared to, like, say, the 70s, 60s, and before that, even that time, having to go all the way Hollywood to basically reinvent yourself in a way.
You're talking about like as far as reinventing myself as an actor?
As an actor, and as well as possibly new challenges for yourself, even outside of acting as well.
For me, it's constantly, the constant in my life is truth and love. And I just think that by being on that path, I don't think of me reinventing myself. It's just that staying true to who I am and constantly listening and obeying that higher power. And even messages can come through individuals, because God uses people, God uses everything to kind of reach us, to reach us and to teach us. So as long as I continue to live and listen and obey and live a life steeped in truth and love, I don't find myself having to reinvent myself or to change who I am. I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. I'm just me. I'm who I am. I'm the person that God made me to be, and that's that.
Well, films today are going downfall, blaming this and that. Where do you think the support should actually really be at?
Like who should be to blame? Who's to blame for certain things?
Well, everyone blames everybody when it comes to a film, like whether it's the director or even they're like, oh, that actor sucks playing that character, so and so. But where do you think the support should really be aimed at in order to possibly make a better film or a better character and so forth?
Well, at the end of the day, it is the director, and the director plays a major role in casting. You can't really just point at one individual, especially when it's a big box office movie, because the studios get involved with that a lot, and there tends to be a lot of head bumping because the director might want one person to play this role, and the studios are like, nope, we're not going to give you that much money for that person, and so it tends to go that way. Kind of reminds me of my favorite movie, Rocky, when the studios, they didn't want Sylvester Stallone to play Rocky. They wanted a hot, up-and-coming actor at that time. I can't think of his name, and Sylvester was a no-name, according to the industry, and they didn't want to give him that shot. They gave him the shot, and then look what happened. But back to my point, you can't really point the finger at one person. Unless it's a low-budget indie project, then the director tends to be the producer, who tends to be maybe even the writer, and they wear a lot of hats. But when you have so many people, big budget project, and everybody is wearing one hat, it's kind of tough to point the finger at one person or to blame one individual.
problem is like they do blame one individual, but it could be either the company, it could be sometimes be the whole thing. It all depends on the situation and money and all this. There's so many factors involved, but there's like a lot less support for a specific film or character or anything like that, rather than, you know, let's just blame everybody for this because, you know, the film sucked.
The average individual, say the person that just spends money for a ticket, I think with me, if I go to the movie just as a spectator, as an audience member, I'm looking at who had a bad performance. If I go to the theater, if there's one person that has a bad performance, I kind of point that out. I'm like, okay, well, that actor's not doing his or her job effectively. That actor's not that good. But you can also go back to the director, because the director could direct that actor a certain way, could direct that actor to respond a certain way. That could affect the performance also. So when you work with the director, you want to make sure that they have your best interest at hand and that they know what they're doing. Like A-list actors or actors, period, they want to know who's directing the project, who's directing this. Because at the end of the day, you know, if they don't let me know if I'm doing something wrong, then it could hurt your performance and it could hurt the production overall.
Yeah, and like the old saying, you know, some things, no matter how things change differently, it always stays the same. But where do you think change should be put into action? Life, as well as the film industry.
Oh, well, this is like my one-man show. It basically boils down to us as individuals. If there's an issue in life, or if there's a problem in life, in the world, I go inside and I ask myself, what can I do to help that situation? As opposed to pointing the finger at other people like, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? It's like, I ask myself, well, if I feel that way about what they're doing, why don't I do something about it? As opposed to talking about it, do I have the power, do I have the capability to affect that situation positively? And if I do, and I'm not doing anything about it, I can only point the finger at myself. So at the end of the day, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm focusing on me. I go inside. What can I do to make the world a better place? And if I'm not doing that, then I just need to be quiet. For me, I'm like, okay, I can do something about it. I can do more, but I'm not. So I think that's where it all begins, and I think that that's where we should all begin in order to make the world a better place.
Okay, go ahead and plug in anything that you are currently involved in, as well as your campaign.
Yes, and also my book, my book is called Blindsided by the Walking Dead. I would encourage everybody to go get that. And it's the stage play is an abridged version of what's in the book. You get my book is available at Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. If they don't have it, they'll order it for you. Or even my website, Singleton.com, and you can read the book. The book is, I've been told by others, it's amazing, it's incredible. They read it in a day or two over the weekend, and you can get an idea of what this show is about. That is determining whether or not you will make a donation to this Kickstarter campaign, because you'll know exactly what the mission is about, and you'll know if you align well with that mission. So also my music, I have an album. It's called Hypocrisy, so you can check out my album. It's all over the internet, SoundCloud, iTunes, you name it, and you can go get my album as well. So and I'll be at Walker Stalker Con. I'll be at Walker Stalker Con in Atlanta. So if you're in Atlanta next week, I think not this weekend, the following weekend, I think it's the Halloween weekend. Come on out, say hi to me. I would love to meet you.
And there you have it, Iron E. Singleton.
Thank you, Brother Mike. I love you. I appreciate you. Love all your listeners, and let's love each other, y'all. It's free.
Have fun, man. Have fun.
All right, brother.